ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. Finishing up our discussion on verse number 68. Pakshavabhyasya pakshi janayati marutam tena yatyuchyadesham labdhva vayum mahantam shramamapanayati sviya pakshau prasarya dehas dukhas sankalpair vishayamanukadarthi kritam chittametat खिन्नं विश्रामहेतोस्वपिति चिरमहो हस्तपादान् प्रसार्य. Beautiful illustration. As we have seen the verse in full about the imagery of the eagle, the bird in flight. First it has to flap its wing and generate a momentum. And then once it takes flight, it can just coast along and rest. So it's ironical. Likewise, when we see this illustration in the nature, in the wild, we find that it's ironical that all the work that goes into flapping the wind and going against the momentum first, all the work that goes into climbing a height is for what? Only to rest. Only to rest. What is this rest? The best rest is the rest within oneself. That is the best rest. You can't say I'm resting in the middle of some kind of a heavy metal concert with everybody dancing around. That's not rest. Rest means there should be nobody. Rest is very interesting. Even supposing, let's say, and this is what the next verse is going to say, even supposing one is having a happy married life and one wants to be around the spouse all the time, but still in sleep, one is with oneself. And that being with oneself is the rest, is the best rest. And in the sleep state, that is what is talked about, because it comes very, very close to liberation, moksha. What is moksha? Moksha is no sorrow, no pain. And why is there no sorrow, no pain? Because one is simply at home with oneself. In other words, it is a bird that has come to roost. One is at peace with oneself and one is one with oneself. Otherwise, usually the waking state for a person who is not a jnani is demarcated by subject-object differences. And the subject-object differences, what do? They tire out the eyes. You keep watching, there is a information overload. And you're tired, eyes get tired, and the hearing gets tired, especially if you live on a busy street in India. Let's say you live where there is no law against honking. In fact, if you don't honk, it's dangerous to drive. So this is how it is. So there is lots of cars, horns and everything, and lots of noise, and then this is a deterrent. And so like this, the rest is, so important, and the rest is what rejuvenates. And the human being, the individual, goes from cycles of waking to cycles of rest, sleep. Why? because that assailing information overload and the senses being overstimulated is not there in sleep. In sleep, the eyes shut down, the ears, even though they don't have, we have eyelids, we don't have ear lids. Okay, so but there is some kind of a lid there happening because you don't hear anything. You don't hear the honking of the horns, you don't hear the milkman, yelling, take the milk, and you don't hear so many things. So like this, you don't hear the hawkers, the people who are selling all their wares, going and coming. Why? Because there is an invisible ear lid along with the eyelid. And of course, there is a nose lid and a mouth lid. Even sometimes one sleeps with the mouth open. There is a mouth lid. And then you don't see anything, you don't hear anything. And it's very interesting because that is the place that rejuvenates. So the question is a deep analysis of the sleep state. What does it yield? Because we are right now in the sleep state. I mean, not literally, but in terms of the subject matter of our quest. We are right now looking at verses that talk about the sleep state. And then what do we see here? We see something which is very, we see when we unpack the sleep state, we see some wonderful things. Number one, it is a place of rejuvenation. It is a place of deep rest. Number two, there is nobody else and nothing else bothering you. And number three, there is no activity. And no activity means what? Number four, you are experiencing a oneness with yourself. That is not possible, apparently, especially without Vedanta in the waking state. It's not possible. And so therefore what? So this analysis of the sleep state yields the information that without this rest, it is not possible to go on. In fact, the waking state is alternated by the sleep state, because otherwise life would be unbearable without sleep. And already in Kali Yuga, the sleep is getting less and less. In Kali Yuga, the people who are doing very well are sleep study doctors. Yeah, there are doctors who study sleep. And then they will put all kinds of electrodes and watch you sleep. That is their job. They take you to a sleep clinic and watch you sleep. And they say, okay, you're not dreaming enough and you're not resting enough and there is some problem. And then if there is a problem like sleep apnea, like some breathlessness in sleep and all that, there are ways to correct it. And so that is their job. And so this shows how important sleep is. Why? Because in the sleep state, you are at peace and one with yourself. And that is what is needed. And this recharging, so to speak, by going back to yourself, is what is moksha, where there is really this going is there, but there is no coming back. The going is also as though, because even in the waking state, you are one with yourself. Every experience is you. The experiencer is you. The experience is not away from you. And the mode of experience, eyes, ears, etc., they are all you. They are all Atman. And so therefore, if this is not understood, then one is consigned to do this alternative situation. Sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up. And in the wake up, in the waking state, there is frenetic activity. All kinds of, just like the bird flapping the wind, flapping against the wind. So too the jiva goes against Ishvara's order. Why? Because of karma. And the next verse is going to talk about this. Because of too many desires. Too many desires. I mean, what do you need? I mean, one needs so little. Really. Think of all the things you have in your house. and what you actually use. And pack up a few things and put them away. And really, out of sight is out of mind. Yeah, it's the other way around. Yeah, out of sight is out of mind. And 6 months later, you open, you'll wonder, oh, did I have this? Where did this come from? I had even forgotten that I had it. This is how it is. So many things you accumulate, and then you don't know what to do with it afterwards. And even things that you do use. People have, a favorite something, a coffee mug, tea mug. As though the tea doesn't, pour from other mugs. No, but this is my mug. And I have been having it for so many years, and this is my favorite, and this is a morning routine, and I have to have my brew of choice only with this mug. Hide the mug away. 6 months, don't look at it. And you will see a great transformation within yourself. And when you see that mug, you will not have any feelings about it. This is, this is how the life is. During the waking state, the insecure ahankara, the insecure body, mind, sense complex wants to literally cling. Wants to cling to things as a way of, as a way of feeling secure, feeling wanted. So, from the littlest of the things to the biggest of the things, one clings. So from the little mug to the bank account, one clings. and this clinging is a way of becoming one with the whole. Because the whole is assumed to be the bank account. Yes, the bank account is whole, except the W is silent. HOLE. Okay, so the bank account is a big hole. Or it will be, it could become a big hole. And if you cling to something that is by nature supposed to be destroyed, that which never belonged to you anyway, then of course the sorrow is great. Of course the separation gives anxiety. Because really speaking, even the richest person on earth needs very, very little. Can only use only so many things. He or she may have like a 40-bedroom house with 25 bathrooms, okay? Yeah, there are such homes. You can buy them, millions of dollars. But at one time, you can only use one bathroom. Correct? You may have 39 other bedrooms, but you can only sleep in one bedroom. And let's say you have a huge, biggest bed? It's got some size, king bed. Let's say you have a king bed. You will only be occupying one corner. Even though you just spread your wings, hastapadan prasarya, it says, even if you spread yourself, still, it's just one corner you occupy. And even in the bathroom, the bathroom will have, toilet, sink, shower or bathtub. You can only be using one of the things at one time. That's how it is. You may be the richest person on the planet. But this limitation is there. This limitation is naturally there, and the jiva, the individual, chafes against these limitations. Why? Because I want to be big. You can't be big by just having a lot of money. You're not big by just having a huge bank account. You're not big by having a big house where you can roll in, back and forth. That is not the bigness. The bigness is understanding already how big one is. And that bigness cannot be taken away from you. And it is the bigness which is given by self-knowledge. Nachaura haryam, meaning it cannot be taken away by thieves, by adharmic people. It does not spend. It does not depreciate like a car. You buy a car, as soon as you drive it out of that manufacturer's lot, then it has become half the price. Then you drive it back to them and say, okay, I changed my mind. They will say, all right, we'll take it back, but now sadly it is a used car. What do you mean used car? I just took it out, I changed my mind. Well, sorry, it's a used car because we already signed the papers. You signed the dotted line and the agreement and everything. So yes, we will do the favor of buying it back, but then if you want a new car, then another half of the price you will have to give. This is how it is. But this knowledge of your own glory doesn't depreciate. And the more you give of this to others, the more it appreciates. This is what it is. It's the glory of the limitless I. That is what one craves in the waking state and flaps the wing to get it. But unfortunately, due to Atma Ajnanam, due to self-ignorance, goes about it the wrong way. You can't soar to, the bird is luckier than you. You can't soar to great heights by karma, because moksha is not a karma phala. It is not the result of action. Moksha and action are like oil and water. They never mix, not even in a salad dressing. Because even if you shake the salad dressing and pour it over your vegetables, you will see the oil sitting by itself and the water by itself. This is what it is. And so, flapping the wings, the proverbial wings, the sense organs, driving the sense organs crazy, and then driving the organs of actions to levels of tiredness all the time. What do you get out of that? Nothing. Just exhaustion. Where you crave that oneness anyway. But sleep, even though sleep is an example of oneness, one comes back. One comes back from the sleep to the world of demarcated subject and object, where the subject is craving for various objects in order to fulfill its desires, in order to be one with itself. It mistakenly craves for objects. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the question is asked. Shvetaketu asked the question. The Vidwan, the person of knowledge, also goes to sleep. The ignorant person who doesn't know V for Vedanta also goes to sleep. And then when they both return from sleep, the Vidwan is still in oneness, and the Avidwan, the one who is not understanding the truth of oneself, is away from oneness, is still wakes up discontented, wakes up cantankerous and cranky, and wakes up wanting various things. Why? That is because even though they are both with Ishvara in sleep, the one comes back. Who comes back? Avidwan. The one who is not a Vidwan, the one who is not a Jnani, comes back. Why? Because the storehouse of desires, the ignorance along with the storehouse of desires, is a deadly combo. It's a terrible combination. Why? Because this is how it is. That is exactly how it is, because the ignorance itself is a desire factory. It keeps on churning out desires. And the desires further keep the ignorance in place, because as long as there is a whole agenda of trying to fulfill the desires, then there is no desire to understand how to remove sorrow. And that there is no incentive to understand how to remove sorrow, and there is no viveka to see that this sorrow is not removed just by accumulating more things. And so even though the sleep state is a good example of what happens in moksha, it is not enough. But why is the sleep state being described so much in detail? It is precisely so that one is able to understand, have some kind of a semblance of the beauty of the sleep state and what it does to the body, what it does to the mind. So even in about, even if you have an afternoon nap, 45 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, you wake up so refreshed. So think about how refreshing it must be to be with Brahman as Brahman all the time. That is the whole idea. In order to understand that, one has to be ready to minimize actions. And actions cannot be minimized without desire being minimized. All the binding desires are managed, and binding desires means the desires that create a pressure to be fulfilled. That's what we mean by binding desires. So the desires have to be managed, and it's nice to have the assume what is that called, Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda pose, because in any painting, in any photograph, he is like that. And I always wondered why does he like this position? Because you see, if you go to a psychotherapist, or they will say, oh, this position is a very closed position. That means you're trying to hide something and you're not open. Well, this Swami gave a new meaning to this position, really. Because obviously he was not trying to hide anything. He was a very learned and wonderful saint who inspired so many people to study Vedanta, who revolutionized this, whatever this was, the Parliament of World Religions. And so what is this pose? This pose is a pose of knowing that one is not an actor. Really, I thought about this pose a lot. First of all, it's very comfortable. It's so comfortable. You can try it. It's very, very comfortable. And then, it has a new meaning, because as long as you're in this pose, then the urgency to quickly, put your fingers into something is not there. Because then it requires two movements. The one hand has to come off from here, the other hand has to come here. And so that's enough time for the mind to say, okay, I'm not getting my paws into this. I'm not getting my fingers into this pie. Very nice it is. Very, very beautiful. So it's a pose of repose. It's a very restful pose where I remind myself I'm not the actor all the time. I don't need to do this. Always. This is how to minimize action. Meaning, just sort of ask yourself, is this really necessary? And you know what? If you're honest with yourself, the answer all the time will be no. Think about it. All the time the answer will be no. And then you rationalize, no, I think I should do this, and okay, fine. But at least, have that first level, that repose, that repose pose, have that, so that you see that there is a first level of, a checkpoint. In India, because of serious issues, problems with poaching and people destroying the forests and the flora, fauna of the forest, going and hunting and all these things which are not allowed. When you enter a forested region, there is a check post. I mean, they don't do anything. Half the time they are drinking tea and the other half the time they are asleep. Okay, but this check post is there. And there is sometimes it is very rudimentary. There is just a string tied, okay, and then on a pole, and then that pole is put across, and then that pole is raised and and put aside. Sometimes the string is just untied and the car is allowed to pass through, but not at first without the car honking the horn and some sleepy fellow in the middle of the winter, all mummied up, wrapped up in a scarf, comes and just peers into the car, doesn't do anything. He doesn't even know if he's asleep or awake, but he just comes and does his job, and then you go on further. How can he tell that, I'm not a poacher? Nobody knows, but somehow it's just a check post. So in the same way, there is a check post within. And I do think the Swami Vivekananda pose is a very good check pose to drop the kartritvam. Keeping your hands to yourself, minding your own business, stepping back, not only from other people's affairs, which is very important, because everybody is a busybody. It's just you always want to know what's happening there, what is this person doing there, why this is going on here, what can I say, what can I do. It's none of your business. Unless that person is your child, it's not your business at all. But then, one wants to, this is a form of distraction, so that one doesn't look into one doesn't look into the huge wound here, and then one wants to put a band-aid on a small scratch somewhere else. And so this is, so therefore, this pulling back is a very important way of assimilating the truth of the sleeping state. So that between the waking and sleeping state, there is not much difference. Swaminiji, actually even now there is not much difference for me between the waking and the sleeping state. If you say that, I will say, this is not literally. It's not that literally one is, nodding off. And there is one disease actually, what is that called? Narcolepsy, it is called. Where one is, you just start talking to the person and they sleep. They sleep all the time. Some disease it is. So that's not what we are talking about. We are not talking about the person being tamasic and wanting to just, being dull all the time. So what we mean is to understand that the sleep state is a welcome piece of knowledge about how, without fulfilling any desires, with keeping the hands and legs, the organs of actions all to myself, and with keeping the mind and the body all to myself, still I am happy. That is what we mean by minimizing the difference in the states of mind, not in the body, between the sleep state and the waking state. Awesome it is. And so this is the example of the bird, and this is what it teaches, that the urgency to roost and go back to the nest is because, in spite of gaining a few things in the waking state, the sleep state alone satisfies. That alone satisfies. And then let us look at the Upanishad Vakya. This is 3:19 Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Tadyatha asmin akashe श्येनो वा सुपर्णो वा विपरिपत्य श्रान्तः संहत्य पक्षौ संलयाय इव ध्रियते एवम् एव अयं पुरुषः एतस्मा अन्ताय धावति यत्र न कंचन कामं कामयते न कंचन स्वप्नं पश्यति. Yatha, just as, very beautiful, same thing. This we saw how the author of the Satasloki presents this verse, and now we are just going back to the Upanishad to see how the contrast of it. That's all, just to enjoy how the Upanishad presents this. Tad yatha means just as, asmin akashe, in the sky, shyenaha, like a big winged bird, like a eagle, hawk. Suparnaha means a fast eagle, something faster than that. Va means or. Viparipatya doesn't mean having fallen, means having got tired. Shrantah, tired, having flown and flapped its wings against the wind and generated some wind momentum to be able to get up and get off the ground. And then what happens? Shrantah syat, gets very tired. Samhatya pakshau. So what does it do? It it spreads its wings, and then samlayaya iva dhriyate. It wants to rest. It gets ready to rest. It doesn't want to be flying anymore. It goes into a state of repose, having flown and tired itself. And why does it fly? Because it wants to, especially with hawk and eagle, that's how they, that's how they hunt. They look for small things, on the ground, and then they swoop down and carry it off. And so that is just like how the jiva is hunting with the help of the karmendriyas, with the help of the jnanendriyas, the hunting jiva. And what is the jiva hunting for? Not just food, but all kinds of experiences. The jiva is an experience hunter, just like the big hawk. And this experience hunting jiva, even if that jiva by the dint of some punya comes into the spiritual realm, Vedanta, etc., Guru Prapti takes place, Vedanta comes into the life. There also the jiva, that hunter-gatherer, samskaras are not gone, hunts for spiritual experiences. I want to have a spiritual experience. I'll tell you, the only spiritual experience is spirit. Okay, that's all. No other experience. What do you mean a spiritual experience? No, I want to experience moksha. That's a spiritual experience. I want something to happen which will just, make me jump out of the body. And I want to have a spiritual experience. And this is completely contradictory to any of the teaching that we have been studying so far. Because if moksha is an experience, then that it will always be finite. Because the difference between the experiencer and experienced is what is one calls by the word experience. That subject-object difference, as long as it remains, and as long as the experiencer is talking about the experience, then it is finite. Moksha is just like mocha that you get from Starbucks. That's what it is. You had mocha experience, oh wonderful drink, and then what else? And then you have moksha experience. This is the orientation, that hunter-gatherer orientation from previous lives of eagle, hawk, etc. Eagle, hawk and other animals of prey. What is that? Lion, tiger, cat, all these things. Hyena, and there's also something called meerkat. All these things, they just want, this is what it is. And then there is what is that? Then we have the neo-human beings, Neanderthals and all these things, some kind of humanoids, and then all that experience, the whole samskara has been catch, conquer, kill, catch, kill, catch, kill, catch, kill. Even now, the current contemporary, so much the orientation is that the contemporary teenager, upon being asked, how did you do in the exam, says to me, I killed it. Yeah, I was a little worried when the person said this. When the young man came to me and said, how did you do in the exam? I killed it. And I looked a little worried, and the mother said, no, that means he did very well. This is what it is. That samskara still is persisting. It's amazing. Catch, conquer, kill, eat. The whole, if that is the orientation, this is what is called by Adi Shankara as prakrita buddhi, bestial tendencies. And it's okay in the beast, because it's okay in the pashus, because they are programmed. And you have been given a mind that is not at all programmed, that can soar the heights of all desires, that can go here, go there, go everywhere. And still, what do you do with this mind? You go back to that default mentality of catch, kill. The previous samskaras are strong, but they are not stronger than you. So this whole thing, this penchant for spiritual experiences, unfortunately leads people to wrong teachers. Wrong teachers means some kind of charismatic experience, some kind of cult, some kind of, I want to do this, I want to get this, I want to be out of the body. You want to be out of the body, just go to sleep. That's better. And so here, this is nothing mystical here. There is zero mysticism in Vedanta. All that is there, you require the brain to function properly, you require the neurons to fire off correctly, you require to be there, you require to cultivate the already latent desire to be one with yourself, and you just have to listen. That is what it is. There is nothing mystical. All that Vedanta says is that you are as though separated from Ishvara, Bhagavan, God. You are as though separated from yourself. You are as though separated from other jivas. And that as though is very important, because in reality you are one with everything. A fact that you need to recognize, and this non-recognition of yourself is the cause of sorrow, and the antidote for this non-recognition is recognition. Simple. And that recognition is in the form of correct knowledge, which has to be internalized. And if there are habitual orientations about grabbing everything in sight and then wanting everything that you see, that has to be tamed through leading a lifestyle that is conducive to the assimilation of this knowledge, like a lifestyle of karma yoga, a lifestyle of worshipful attitudes, prayerful attitudes. That is what Vedanta says. There is zero mysticism. What's the point of going to somebody and then just having some kind of a transformative experience, and then, and then when you come back, then you're back to the same. So it's like a spiritual high. You don't need that. That is not what, that is not what Vedanta is about. It's about going back to where you are most at home with, and that is yourself. And this is what this particular verse talks about, that because in sleep na kanchana kamam kamayate. Not a single desire is needed, not a single object of desire is desired. Not even on the level of dreams. Na kanchana swapnam pashyati. Does not see anything as a potential, because only when you see you want. So there is no wanting, there is no seeing, there is nothing at all. Yeah, I kind of understand this. It's a little bit better now. I understand this because we've had a few verses about the sleep state. But how do I understand what the waking state, how can I experience this in the waking state? Well, for that, the next verse is given, 69. आश्लिष्यात्मानमात्मान किमपि सहसैवान्तरं वेदबाह्यं यद्वत्कामी विदेशात् सदनमुपगतो गाढमाश्लिष्य कान्ताम् यात्यस्तं तत्र लोकव्यवहृतिरखिला पुण्यपापानुबन्धः शोको मोहो भयं वा समविषमिदं न स्मरत्येव किञ्चित्. Beautiful. Again, a very, very beautiful verse. And again, the author has taken this just a few verses down from where we were earlier. Right now, in the previous verse, we traced it back to 4.3.19, and this is 4.3.21. And this has been very beautifully put in the verse form, simple Sanskrit, Ashlishya. Ashlishya, having hugged, having embraced. Atmanam. Atmanam means oneself. Atma, this person, having embraced oneself. Oh, is it like what you tell children in school? Give yourself a big hug. Is this what it is? Similar. 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 But here the object of the hug is a loved one, like a spouse that has not been seen for a long time. And the verse will explain this. Na kimapi sahasa eva antaram bahyam veda. Na kimapi veda. So in this embrace of longing for an object of delight, like one's spouse or a loved one, and then in this embrace, what happens in the moment of embrace? There is time that comes to a standstill. There is space that comes to a standstill. What time is there? No time. You don't even know what is time. You don't even know where you are. And do you think, okay, now, as you are embracing the person, do you think, oh, I have to make sure that the bank account is okay? No, because the worry about the bank account is all gone, because you have really got the object of delight right here in your arms. And this is what is talked about. Ashlishyam Atmanam. It's like embracing yourself. Embracing a loved one is like embracing yourself, because there is unity between you, your body and the other person's body. It's just one. And the mind is one. And the hearts are one. So in this oneness, what happens? Na kimapi sahasa. So there is no, sahasa means at once, in a moment. There is nothing outside oneself that one is experiencing. Like time, space, etc. There is nothing inside oneself. Oh, I think I need to get a haircut. Oh, I think I need to get a manicure. Those thoughts don't come. Nothing within, nothing without. Oh, I am sad. All these thoughts don't come. Yati astam tatra. Tatra, in this experience, yati astam. Astam means set. The whole experience is such that the time has come to a standstill, and the differences between oneself and another, and the difference between oneself and all the desires that one is entertaining, they have all come to rest in this place, tatra. And then what has come to rest? He is, he's talking about Loka. Forgot. Yeah, I forgot this second line. I skipped it. Yadvat kami. In which manner the person who has a longing for what? To see his or her spouse after a long separation. That is the person called kami. Kamaha asya asti iti kami. Kamin. And so yadvat, in which manner the kami videshat, having gone to a foreign place, away from the hometown, sadanam upagataha, and returned back to the house. Sadanam, house, upagataha, returned. Videshat, from going out of town. Gadham, deeply. Ashlishya, ashlishya means embraced. Kantam, kanta means wife. So, having deeply, tightly embraced the wife, who, this person, the person, which person? The person videshat sadanam upagataha. So, the one who has returned home after an absence, and then tightly hugged the significant other who one had missed. And remember, this is an ancient example. No FaceTime, okay? And no SMS, and no emails, nothing. And you didn't even know whether the other person was alive or not. Maybe somebody from the same village has gone to your hometown from where you are working, and you have sent a letter or something like that, if you are lucky enough that somebody went. Otherwise, no news. That person would be waiting, wondering, is the person alive? And you would also be waiting, oh, is my significant other okay? Is he or she alive? And then you hurry home, the person hurries home and finds the significant other in intact, in good condition. And the significant other finds this person in good condition. Nothing has happened, no calamity has struck, and no wild animal has been involved in any accident, etc. And then the person is still alive, and imagine that embrace of longing and separation after that separation. And such a relief, because all that anxiety, all that worry is gone. Space stands still, time stands still. And so then, that is what is that? That is equated to liberation. And only thing in liberation is ashlishya atmanam atmana atma. So the liberation, moksha, is like hugging yourself deeply from within. Because the longing is the same. Life after life after life, this is the longing. You want to be with yourself, but you don't know how. You don't know where to go. And you don't know if you'll ever find this elusive Shanti that you are so much wanting. It is just like being separated from the loved one, because the object of the greatest love is indeed the subject. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati will say the same Brihadaranyaka Upanishad in the Yajnavalkya Maitreyi dialogue. Nava are patyuh kamaya patim priyam bhavati patihi priyo bhavati atmanastu kamaya patihi priyo bhavati. Nava are jayayai kamaya jaya priya bhavet atmanastu kamaya jaya priya bhavet. Nava are putrasya kamaya putrah priyah bhavet atmanastu kamaya putrah priyah bhavet. Like this, he goes on this big list. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. What becomes an object of love is not for the sake of that object or gaining that object, it is for the sake of some contentment centered on the self. And then taking his own relationship with his wife, Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi in no uncertain terms that Nava are patyuh kamaya patihi priyo bhavati. It is not for the sake of the husband that the wife loves the husband. Oh, really? No. It is for her own sake. What do you mean it is for her own sake? It is for her own security, own satisfaction, own happiness, own contentment. As the, what is that called? The Bhajagovindam says. Bhajagovindam says, that body which was the source of great delight for the wife, which she embraced regularly, the moment it dies, she says, take this away. I can't stand this in my house. The object of love becomes the object of revulsion and distaste. The moment the Atma flies out of this body. What do you mean the Atma flies out of this body? As though, Atma is not a bird that is flying out of the body. As though. The moment the Atma it departs from the body is, that's why it's called a dead body. Before she was addressing him reverentially with a lot of respect as, oh, he is going to come and he is my beloved and he is my other half and better half and all these things. And then, let's say the fellow just collapsed and died right in front of her. And the woman says, Bharya bibhyati asmin skaye. This is what the Bhajagovindam says. The wife who was so faithful, who was so loyal, who was so loving, and who loved the husband. And how did she love the husband? The love of the husband expressed itself in the loving of the body and the mind of the husband. Because what she really loved was not the body and the mind of the husband. She really wanted that contentment which is centered on herself. And as soon as the body becomes lifeless, unable to interact with her, unable to give her the ashwasana, the kind of a reassurance she needs just by its living presence, then that body is of no use. That mind which cannot interact is of no use. And she says to the people assembled, "What are you looking? Why is this body here? This body is making my house impure. Take it away. Put it on the pyre." She may be still grieving, but she doesn't want to keep this body. Doesn't want to do that. In India, nobody wants to do that. In America, sometimes, people go crazy. I just read one article. There was some, cult leader. Some kind of a charismatic fellow who taught some things, and he had a following. Not a very big following, but some 50, 60 people were around him all the time. Not like, thousands and lakhs of people, no. And then he died, and then the people thought they couldn't live without him. So they embalmed and mummified the body and kept it in one of the houses of the devotees. And they were having satsang regularly with this body sitting right there. And then the police came and arrested them. That is what the story is. But generally people don't want to, with regard to the dead body, one wants to dispose of it because it is of no use. Just yesterday it was alive and it was able. That means that one is not loving the body for the body's sake. One is loving the body and the mind of another person for their own sake. In fact, what one falls in love with is not another person, but that self in the other person. Because as soon as that Atma departs, as soon as the self departs means again as though, okay? So as soon as the self leaves this Nama Rupa, does not bless the body, bless the Nama Rupa with its presence. As soon as the Atma withdraws itself from the body, mind, sense complex, then the body becomes unlovable. You unlike the body. Unlike the body is unlike a verb. Yes, after Facebook, it is a verb. Okay, so you unlike the body in an instant. This is what it is. But then, same thing, he puts it the other way also. Jaya means wife. Nava are Jaya yai kamaya Jaya priya bhavati Atmanastu kamaya Jaya priya bhavati. Same thing. If the wife were to pass on before the husband, already he is making plans. Okay, I should, that neighbor lady looks good. She's a good cook also. And, and she looks healthy. And it's very, she's also widowed. She's also alone. So maybe this might be a good arrangement. Maybe I should propose to her. Already he's thinking. So that means what? That the body is hardly, the funeral is over, then there is some other plan being made. Get this out of the house, get this chapter is closed. And so like this is, so same thing with the children. If you tell the children, oh, we have done so much for you, they are going to, the modern day children, they will say, we didn't ask to be born. You gave birth to us, you are supposed to take care of us. That's not a favor. You're not extending any favors. This is our birthright. What were you going to do? Give birth to us and put us out on the street? No, you just did your duty. Come on. Don't try to act too smart. That's what they're going to say. All the modern children, they are very, very well aware of all this. You can't guilt trip them. Okay? And so, that's what the next one, Yagyavalkya says to Maitreyi, that it's not for the sake of children that you love the children. You love the children because for yourself. It is a way of love. The love of the Atma is expressed in the children because you don't know how to access this love. That's why you had the children in the first place, because you hoped that some small thing that looks like you will be just a way of loving yourself. That looks like you, that just, is cute and, patters around, crawls around, makes goo goo gaga sounds and is totally dependent on you. Think of that overlordship. Everything it needs you. It will not go to anybody else. It will cling on to you. And so you feel like a creator in creating a baby. You feel very close to Ishvara. That is why the child, bearing a child and having a child is so satisfying. But really, it's not for the sake of the child. You're not doing any favors. And you can have that same joy without undergoing labor pains. Think about it. Very nice. Without undergoing labor pains and 9 months of anxiety and all this, you can have that same joy. Same joy. Because what you love is not the child. You love yourself. And you're desperately trying to replicate yourself in all the situations, in all the people, in all the objects of love. And so therefore, so what is moksha like? Moksha is like a self-hug from within, so to speak. There is no without within, but still, so to speak. Where you meet yourself. What self? The self that is not longing for anything, the self that is not agitated, the self that is not the version of you that is the best, that is not agitated, that's not wanting something from you all the time, and that's not restless. That is not having a full list, a grudge list. This one did that to me. When? 2 lifetimes ago. And that one is terrible. And this one is a gossip. And well, if you call somebody a gossip, are you not gossiping about the gossip? Yeah. So there. So, so like this, the whole litany of all the resentments and everything you have. And then what? And then, you don't want to meet that kind of a person. That's why you do not like you. You want to meet somebody who doesn't have complaints, even about you. You want to meet somebody and greet somebody who is at rest, who is not restless, who is not always distracted. What can I get now? What can I get now? What now? What now? What now? What now? What now? That anxiety is not there. You want to meet somebody Shanta. Well, Jiva, meet Atma. That's the only resolution. Because what you seek, you already are. That restful person, you are. That Swami Vivekananda, you were inspired by, you are. And anybody you were inspired by, you already are. And that person you love so much, you are. Because what you love is not their body, which is very, very clear. Because if they become infirm, you don't like them as much. If they become, if they die, then you really don't like that body, you know this. So whatever you love is not what is there. It's the truth of you that you love, and you hope to embrace. In embracing the person, you hope to embrace yourself. That's why any kind of love for the child, conjugal love, any kind of love for a friend is fleeting. Does not satisfy. It is there. Again, it is dependent upon the mood. You may go and fall on somebody and hug them, and right now, at that moment, they are having a traumatic experience and they say, I don't want to be touched. What are you going to do? That is why it is elusive, because it depends on the other person's mood, other time and place. All these have to come together. Very difficult. But in greeting yourself, in making an appointment with yourself, nothing has to come together. No time, no place, nothing. You are available for a very tight and a long hug right now without needing to go to sleep. That's what it is. You are available because the Atma is forever there. It is there. It is just ready. It is always there. It is not moody. It doesn't say, well, last time when I wanted to hug you, you said you had to go out, and so now I also don't want to be hugged. I also have other things to do. It doesn't take revenge. It is not resentful. It is always there, ever present, luminous, self-luminous, of the nature of Ishvara Satchidananda. This is what one wants. And so, through this hugging example, we understand that The hugging is good, but we have been hugging wrong things. Yeah, we've been starting with the coffee mug. First you hug the mug and then you go on to hug other things. And whatever you hug, you understand that, is not really hugging you back in the same way that you had hoped. And in this way, the pandemic has been extremely educative, because no touch, no hug, before you just went and fell on the other person and everybody was so touchy feely, and now you had to just be with yourself. That is one way of coming to some kind of an understanding about this thing. So more we'll see. There's a lot more to talk about, including the verses, the mantra from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. We'll see that next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.